Greetings, dear friends. Unfortunately, practice has stopped working. It doesn't help at all. In fact, it only gets worse with practice. The question is really interesting because I have encountered such perplexing states multiple times in my career, where it genuinely seems like nothing is working at all. In these situations, everything feels stagnant, and progress seems impossible. Frequencies don't simply work, Reiki doesn't indeed open, it's all made up. What's missing? First of all, you need to see the fundamental things, the also fundamental things, the guiding things, the more guiding things, the very core of what fundamentally is, and to fully understand this. So there is you, in essence, your consciousness, and also your attention. You exist in essence as a biorobot, essentially as a certain response to what is happening, in response to the events that are happening. That is, through your sensory organs, incoming signals are received and thoroughly processed. Something significant happens, and then some triggers occur. Life happens in various ways. It somehow unexpectedly crashes into you through the five senses and leaves a lasting impression. Through the eyes, through the ears, through touch, through smell, and through the sense of taste, we perceive the world. Tactile sensations. You perceive life every second and react to the incoming signals that occur within you. You give an answer, yes, so it's basically request, response. That's essentially how it works. What's the point of practice anyway? Why is it needed? Everything is fine, request, response, everything works. But if your consciousness truly switches on at a certain moment in time, and you start to understand that the world is the world, but my response to the world might not be satisfactory for me, how do I react in a way that is satisfactory? What kinds of thoughts and actions am I producing on a daily basis? What specific things am I actually doing with the various opportunities that I have been given in my life? For example, a person justifies in various ways why they cannot learn certain programming languages, acquire some essential skills, a profession, systematization, data management, people management, or something else, despite their efforts, dedication, commitment, and perseverance, and continuous effort. It can't. It's hard, it's difficult, you have to sit and read here. There's something else you need to do there, basically problems. Well, I'll sit here, lie down, I'll watch MTV, a different kind of interest, but another person is the opposite. You know, there are 10 times fewer opportunities, but somehow he managed to get through here and there and is moving forward. The question is not so very much about what is actually around you, but how you react to it all. Indeed. What exactly, precisely, do you do with the information, with the input data that is around you all the time? If you are satisfied with everything that is happening, then what's the discussion? What practices? Everything is fine. And it's all good. We're just sitting on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Everything is perfect. But if you realize that something is really wrong here, like, for example, I understand that something is wrong here, I need to work on myself. I've been doing this for 20 years. From morning till night, every day. Well, if some practices don't work, I take other practices. If those don't work, I take 3rd, 5th, 10th ones. But in reality, if your consciousness has switched on, if you have started to perceive at least something, well, that's it. It won't go away. You really have to be, I don't know, indeed someone who can really lie to themselves so brazenly to say that, no, what are you talking about? All this is nonsense. And I will continue to follow the old patterns. As much as you might indeed want it to be enjoyable, or it might actually appear so, in reality, you can already see that it works. In fact, it does indeed actually. An old subpersonality already outlived its usefulness. These mechanisms are no longer progressive in this world. Maybe, a long time ago, when these mechanisms were indeed adopted, they were relevant. But time moves forward. The world does not stand still, and we must change. Keep up with the times. Something new has come. I need to change. Adapt to the circumstances. Be flexible with reality. If I don't know how to be flexible in any way, the world will break me. It means that somewhere I end up in some strange situation at all. So this is exactly how it works. If you start working on yourself, fundamentally start working on yourself, you see the disruption within you, the distortion, the lies to yourself, which always reflect on mental health, on physical health. This is tension, which draws attention to itself, pulling some situational sequences along. It would be foolish to say everything is fine with me, but it is also tension, and something needs to be done about it if I am truly observing myself. I woke up, and I actually see that here comes the reaction, here comes the emotion. That alone is enough. If you have touched this, if you understand exactly where you start lying to yourself, if you have split into someone who watches intently, without judgment, without want, without don't want, without anything, just watches, if you have found him there inside, he will give you awareness and this clarity, this profound clarity, this deep wisdom that seems to come from nowhere, a correctness that doesn't need to be discussed or debated. It is beyond discussion or argument. It simply remains silent and unspoken. But in this profound silence, in this heightened awareness, there is everything you could ever need and more. And with this perspective, you look at yourself first and foremost. Then you start to change. You begin to see your patterns, the lies you tell yourself, the grievances, the disappointments, all these ups and downs, all of them. You see how all this manifests in life. You can turn a blind eye to it, continue playing the game of life, but if you truly look, truly observe yourself, an inner transformation will inevitably occur. It can be smooth if you have enough potential for adjustments, enough resources, everything will go more or less smoothly. If you find yourself in a situation where the buffer zone has already disappeared, and you are starting to rub the edges of your ego against reality, it is always a problem. These are always tough problems in our lives. These are always conflicts and challenges and difficulties. It's always like, wow, just wow. And an ordinary person lives in these conflicts. He doesn't understand. He can't get out of them. He touches one corner with another, moves to remove this, jerks that. Cannot enter a comfortable, calm, balanced, equilibrium buffer zone, an environment where one can understand that this is the limit and one must be careful not to overstep. Well, then each practice is given so that when you get used to it, when you are already in this buffer zone, rolling like cheese in butter, when you supposedly have clarity, some vision, some understanding, there are frequencies to sober you up from this clarity. They start to shake out with their resonance and these vibrations what you don't see deep inside. There are millions of them, countless opportunities to observe yourself under this vibration, under these energies, under these practices, with this breathing, with the distribution of attention. In this way, in that way, you can even do yoga. All yoga is built for this, and experiences and practices and techniques and methods. For observing yourself, you enter a physical yoga posture which represents a certain celestial symbol formed from your energy channels in the body. And by holding this position, breathing in a very specific way, you enter a specific state of mind. The more peak states you can gather, including a headstand, in 3.5 minutes, just a bit more, it indicates that serious internal processes are initiated. Transformational processes, rejuvenating. Yoga not working? Try Qigong and other beneficial similar practices, for instance. Qigong not working? Then try Tai Chi. Don't like Tai Chi? Perhaps go for Wushu, Kung Fu, or even possibly consider surfing, or maybe even snowboarding. Find your own thing, something that gives you inspiration and motivation and drive, adrenaline, excitement, and the ability to wake up, travel through the mountains, I don't know, go into ascetic practices, do some other peak experiences, stand on nails. Well, so be it if nothing helps you. Well, nails will indeed definitely help you out. At least they will definitely give you something. So go, work on yourself, keep moving. If Oshib didn't help you, then read Castaneda. If Castaneda didn't help, there's also the Mahabharata. Gurdjieff is rushing to help. And many other masters of the past, there are plenty of them. Find your own. At some point in time, you will understand. Someone will eventually get through to you. Somewhere, somehow, you will hear and feel an inner response that says, I have been rushing all this time. What a complete nightmare. And only now have I started to really look at everything in detail. With a sober, clear, non-involved gaze, a simple gaze, in a way that is completely without pretensions and without any acceptance or kind of rejection. That is neither here nor there, nowhere, neither plus nor minus, in no way. It just is. Enter into it, just be. No practices are needed. By the very fact that you are there, you are already doing a tremendous amount of work every second. It will be in the social world. To mirror and to reflect upon, consider how much you represent and signify interest to the surrounding space, environment, and context here and now, in this very moment, in this specific place. That is, the entire social world will indeed be against you. Everyone will say, here is a terrible person. Why? Because he doesn't want to be either for or against. Because he absolutely cannot be pushed. Well, dear friends, I want to sincerely say that for those whom various practices do not help, most likely nothing will indeed help, because there is no fundamental and essentially essential practice of observation. If there is this crucial practice, then all other practices will indeed truly help. If you have a primary practice of careful and detailed observation, turning on your own consciousness and mindfully observing yourself, yes, we can say this and that, because in fact, this observation is actually conducted very carefully, precisely to ensure that the moment occurs. Awareness of one's own robotic nature, including the mechanical aspects of one's own brain's functioning, the intricate processes involved, and reflections on one's own thoughts and reflections. When a distance appears between these thoughts and you as an observer, that is indeed, in essence, precisely when the main work begins. And if it has started, then the interesting frequencies of cosmoenergetics, some practice, and yoga become indeed very interesting. So, it's not just some trendy thing that everyone is doing while I'm starving. It's more than just a fad. This issue is serious, affecting. Here I am, definitely on a diet, heroically, absolutely on the 4th day without a doubt. God willing, may all this work, hopefully, may it truly give you the result you need. Indeed, may it not harm you, and may it help you. And then you see, maybe it's not necessarily hunger, maybe it's not necessarily yoga, not necessarily a gypsy. You just need to remain a conscious person. You just need to see what is truly, indeed, actually really happening inside. Yes, indeed, a lot is actually happening in the world, and in fact, the more potentials you have, the more processes, the more everything. The older you get, the harder it becomes to move, really, because there's more and more and more and more. You just really want to throw everything to someone else, probably, actually. But if you truly observe yourself, if you truly live, don't you feel like giving up anything? Because that is truly who you are. All these processes around you, they are you. You wouldn't abandon yourself. You wouldn't reject yourself. You wouldn't run away from yourself. That's foolish. Where to run? You can't run away from yourself. You need to deal with it. But how to deal with it? Where is the criterion, the correctness? It lies in silence. Let's just try to look together from a third-person perspective, rolling back through the back of the head, maybe 70, 80 centimeters back. And just watch. Request. Here is that hieroglyph, this ancient and enigmatic symbol, this strange and perplexing existence, the profound and unfathomable mystery of God that is with you at this very moment, right now. There she is, right there. You see her right now, and you are watching her. Yin and yang, the balance between the perceiver and the perceived, the observer and the observed. The perceived entity observes the perceiver, and in turn, the perceiver observes the perceived entity. This mutual observation is a fundamental aspect of their interaction. Essentially, that's the core idea. And in them lies the whole truth. It's right here, right now. No further than exactly the tip of your nose, right here, right in front of you. And there is no great mystery in what exists, particularly in the natural world, as everything follows logical and scientific. question is, who are you in all of this, in this complex situation, and what role do you play? And how can you navigate through these various layers, transitioning from a state of mere existence to fully manifesting and expressing yourself as a unique personality within this physical body? Yes, indeed, these are absolutely different eyes. These are different eyes. But be that as it may, they are about one thing, the essence of one. That is, it is precisely I who incarnates in this body. It is indeed this I that is truly embodied in this very body, not in some other. I am actually gathering myself here in reality, indeed. And the laws by which the images form, these cells, the body, the information that shapes this body image, it goes through a large number of layers, each of which affects mental and physical health. In my personal opinion, you can always indeed, without a doubt, become significantly better and not striving for it. And this indicates that you simply haven't woken up, that you are still in the shackles of illusion, that you are still rolling downhill, going with the flow, that you still haven't realized your own self. Once you find it in this world, you realize and comprehend that the only meaning in this existence begins with making yourself better and comprehend. Therefore, all practices are good, and they always help. Find your own practices, friends. Make yourself better, light and love.